Hey guys, so my case study question is what is happening neurologically in a student's brain who is afflicted with autism? And I chose not to compare this to children with Asperger's syndrome, even though it's a debate whether that's on the autism spectrum or not, just because I found so much information on what's happening here neurologically for just autism that it would have been too much information for this video. So what is autism? Autism is a broad-based neurodevelopmental or brain-based disorder that is the result of genetic events that occur prior to birth with widespread effects on cognitive and socio-emotional development. Some symptoms of autism is communication problems, repetitive motion, and problems with social interactions. So lots of times children with autism will have poor eye contact. They'll be really into their daily routine. Some may not detect social cues. It really depends because every case is different and every severity is different. So what's going on neurologically with autism spectrum disorder is the communication of neurons is affected. Current models suggest that ASD is a disconnection syndrome in which regions of the brain that should function together smoothly and efficiently to perform an information processing task are affected, and several fMRI studies have provided further evidence of this functional underconnectivity, particularly between the frontal and posterior brain regions. So how does this affect learning? Students suggest that language learning is a greater challenge in children with ASD because their ability of their brains to use the auditory input differs from that of children without ASD. So the interesting thing about this is that students with autism use the brain regions associated with visual processing when the language task does not require it. So most of the information that should be processed through auditory first or through a language area is initially processed visually. And this might be an explanation for why the use of visual aids has been so successful in developing communication skills in children with ASD. Other affected areas of the brain, the one that I found most widespread across my research was the cerebellum being reduced in size, although other areas of the brain were found to be enlarged or have a larger cell density. And I actually had a source that talked about brain size being an issue. So because there's a genetic aspect to autism, 36 to 96%. So that's the chance that one twin that is affected with autism, the other twin will have it as well. That's the chance. So studies also suggest that people with autism usually tend to have more spontaneous coding mutations across many genes, not gene specific. And many of the genes found to be associated with ASD are involved in the function of chemical connections between the brain neurons. So it's affecting how the neurons communicate with each other. So diagnosis by brain overgrowth. There's no single neurological feature that unites all cases of ASD, but one that is more consistent is unusual enlargement in the brain, particularly the cerebrum. So that might be a path to diagnosing it. And how can we help students with autism spectrum disorder? So early educational interventions have been successful in many children with autism, and these sessions help them develop social and language skills as well as encourage positive behavior. And that's the number one way we can help them. Thanks, guys.